All right, let's go over the second problem of your AP type style problems you're doing. It's about the manufacturer boots and they are waterproofing. Okay, so they've recruited 100 people. They are living in Seattle where it's a lot of water, and they asked them to wear the boots as they normally would for 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, then they will the boots will be returned to the company and evaluated for water damage. All right, so it's important to note, and I think I actually do this here. So at this point in the curriculum, we have only learned about this thing called a completely randomized experiment. We have not done blocking yet. We're going to do a lab tomorrow that starts us off with that. So the experimental design that I'm going to show you will be for our completely randomized, our basic SRAT-Me capped. That's our basic completely randomized, okay? Now, there is a better design method, and we will talk about that and connect it back to this problem tomorrow or the next day. Okay, but let's go ahead and go along with what we know so far. So here we go. We're going to start me cat. We're going to start with our 100 Seattle volunteers. Okay, here's my randomly assign the volunteers to that type of boot waterproofing method by putting them in a big bag, shake well, and take out 50 volunteers for the waterproofing method. There's the treatment, and 50 volunteers for the new waterproofing method, and 50 volunteers for the current waterproofing method. It's my R, my asterisk, and my T for treatments. Now, measure each volunteer's boots water damage. They didn't tell me, and I don't think that they specifically counted off for this or whatever in the grading guidelines, and we'll look at those on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most water damage. You could add that in there. It's not going to count against you. I just feel more comfortable with it there. So then we're going to end up comparing the average water damage of the boots with the new waterproofing method to the average water damage on the boots with the current to see, there's my to see, if that new waterproofing method reduces water damage significantly more than the current waterproofing method. All right, now we'll come back to this thing about the blinding in a minute. Let's actually go to the grading guidelines for that part. So the grading guidelines for that part, the scoring guidelines, looked like this. Let me get to where we can see this better. Okay, so there were two things here that we needed to have, okay? So number one says the design, paired, okay, or some kind of blocked. That we're talking about later this week. So you couldn't get full credit. You couldn't get an E, which an E means essentially correct. That's full credit. P means partially correct. That's what I would expect you to get at this point in your learning process. So 2 or more groups, you did completely randomized. You just randomly assigned them to 2 separate groups, okay? And now here's the other way you get full credit. Implementation, that you have the correct randomization. So a written description of the correct randomization. So what you had to get E for that is to say you randomly assign by putting them in a big bag, shake well, and pull out half of them for this and half of them for that. That's how you got it. So we all should have gotten an E, full credit for criteria number 2. All right. Let me just make sure I'm looking at the notes here. Diagram, we don't do diagrams really anymore. I teach you with a paragraph with our mnemonic device. The randomization must be called random assignment of the subjects to the treatment groups. And if you say all you say is that you just randomly select the 100 and you don't, if you said randomly select, that's a no-go. No, we're not randomly selecting from the population. We're randomly assigning those to the treatments. So look, saying random selection would have gotten you 0 credit, incomplete. Now, let's go back and talk about the blinding, which I think, well, never mind. I think that might be the part you address in your discussion. I can't remember right offhand in your Canvas module. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at this. I think I need to re-screen it. So here we go. All right. So could it be double blind? So let's talk about what you need to make sure. So it says, could your design be double blind? Explain. So here's what we need to make sure we communicate to our reader. We need to make sure that we communicate that we know the definition of double blind, okay? But you have to do it in context, okay? I don't think they require you to say how to do it. Well, look, but I know you must communicate that you know the definition of what double blind is and in the context of the waterproofing method. Okay, so here we go. Here's how that might sound. Yes, make sure you answer the question. Sometimes people go through this and they get to going in there and defining and they don't answer. Could the design be double blind? Yes. Now explain. If neither the volunteer nor, that's supposed to be nor, the person evaluating the amount of water damage on the boots knew which waterproofing method the boots had on them, then the experiment would be double blind. Okay, there it is. So neither the person wearing the boots, so they're not going to, mess up the experiment by wearing them one way or the other, nor the person who's going to look at the boot and rate the amount of water damage. Okay. Now, I guess I went further because I wasn't sure. It says this could be done by making neither the waterproofing method change the appearance of the boots. So the methods themselves look and feel the same, so you can't tell. Okay. Sometimes they ask you how it can be done. So I guess that's why I went ahead and included that. Let's see what the grading guidelines ask you or say. Here it is. Okay, to get credit here, you had to include the explanation that you and or that you understand what it means in the experiment to be double blind. Okay, so E says the response indicates that blinding applies to both the evaluator and the subject. I'm surprised that they didn't put in context as a requirement here. This is a 2002 test. I guarantee you right now, this would have marked off if you did not include neither the subject nor the person evaluating the waterproofing damage has to be in context. Okay. Partially, you say that blinding applies, but by at least one of the parties, but you're not sure which one, or maybe you just don't like correctly identify it or communicate it very well. Okay. All right. So there's how you get that. Now, it's interesting. Let's take a look at the scoring. So remember, we know we would have gotten a P on that first part. So we should have gotten a P, E, E. So that would put us right here on getting a score of a 3. And that is very good. 3 out of 4. The only way you could have gotten 4 points on that is 3 E's, which you don't know how to do at this point. So if you got a P, E, E, you're in good shape. All right. So that's all I know. And I hope that that has helped you see what it's like to do the AP level response questions.